Okay, so welcome. I'm Elaine Macbeth. Probably many of you know who I am, Professor Macbeth in the Economics Department and Public Policy, currently Director of the William Mary Public Policy Program. We are going to be joined, well, they're currently here, but we'll be joined in a speaking pattern in just a few minutes by Devin Braun, who's a BA MPP and currently serving as president of the Public Policy Alumni Association, and Kurt Klingenberger, who's a MBA MPP and is currently working on his PhD in the Ed School. The plan for tonight is for me to go through an overview of the BA MPP program, and I have a very short slide deck, less than 10 slides. I will then have Devin and Kurt in turn talk a little bit about being a student in the program. And then I would like you to hold questions while this happens. And then when we open up to questions, I'd first like to have questions go towards Devin and Kurt with regard to their student experiences, their job experiences, alumni issues that you might have a question about. And then I will take on other questions as we move forward. The BA MPP program is characterized by a lot of moving parts, especially during the senior year / first year in the MPP program about registration issues and whatnot. And so I'd like to save the time of our speakers for more productive use, and I'll take as many of those questions as we have time for. We are having a weekly information session over the next couple of weeks. Today is directed towards the BA MPP program. Next week, towards the straight MPP program, which would be an option for seniors and joint degree students. And then finally, the third week, a open, jump ball kind of information session. However, you're welcome to attend any of these three. And if you have more questions, you can, in live time, have them answered at that point. So I'd like to just turn to the slide deck now that we know who's all here and what we're going to be talking about. And of course, I tried to have my slide deck operate immediately and it wouldn't do that. So I'm now needing to move out and do a different share screen. Here we go. Hopefully this now works.
Works on my end, Elaine.
Are you seeing us? I'm just seeing my main page. I'm not seeing the whole slide deck.
Okay. I'm seeing your PowerPoint.
You are.
There we go.
Okay, yeah. So I'm at my first slide. Here's the second slide. Finally, yay! Thank you. Okay, so the BA MPP is an option to earn both your bachelor's and your Master of Public Policy in 5 years total. We are right here in the academic advising. I know there are both sophomores and juniors on this call. You apply during the spring of your junior year. So if you are a junior, you'd be applying in the next month for this program. You need to have, at this point, 90 undergraduate credits, including the spring semester, and an overall GPA of 3.0 to apply. You, as part of the application process and the moving towards the curriculum, you would use your summer coming up in some productive capacity, and what that would be is going to vary depending upon the student, whether it is summer research, coursework to either finish up some of your undergraduate requirements or prepare for the MPP requirements, or an internship. Then in your senior year, which is the conclusion of your BA, you will be taking undergraduate classes as well as first year MPP classes, and you are able to count 9 credits of MPP classes towards the 120 of your undergraduate curriculum. After that year, there's a required summer internship. And in the second year, you will have already graduated from your undergraduate program, and you will be a second year MPP student taking master's classes only. The application materials are online. You have a form application, a personal statement, 3 letters of recommendation. And if you are going to be doing summer research versus taking classwork or having an internship, we do want one of those letters from your research supervisor. Regardless of what you're doing in the summer, we would like at least a narrative statement, a paragraph about what you plan to do for the summer, because we do see this as a important summer to develop your professional skill sets where they may need to be, and a proposed schedule for your fourth year so that you can see that you're going to actually complete all your undergraduate requirements as well as your first year requirements of the MPP program. So, with regard to the curriculum, the first year curriculum has 11 credits in the fall and 12 credits in the spring. In the fall, we have a 1 credit math primer that prepares you to successfully navigate the calculus that's engaged in both quantitative methods 1 and the micro class, the policy and practice or policy dialogues class, which is an applied activity-based course, and then 3 credit classes, Quant 1, Micro, and Law and Public Policy. These 2 are asterisked because there are options that if you have advanced background in quantitative methods, such as econometrics, or you've taken advanced microeconomics in the economics department, that you might be able to pass out of these classes. And this is the full first year curriculum. In the spring semester, once again, the policy and practice class, the spring simulation class, which is a new class in the reestablishment of the MPP, Quant 2, again, if you've had cross-section or time series in the economics department, you'll be able to pass out of this class, and then elective credits. Depending upon how many undergraduate classes you still need to take, you can defer some of these electives into the second year, but that would mean an overload in the second year. And so when we talk about individual student plans, we need to think about the balance between taking as many first year classes in that first combined year relative to having too many classes to still take in the second year. And the second year curriculum is also listed here, where there are, once again, 11 credits and 12 credits. And all of these classes you'd be taking as a second year student in the Masters of Public Policy program. So important dates coming up. One is initial application review of February 15th. We will continue to receive applications after that point in time, but this first round will be given a decision back by March 15th, which is important because that is ahead of the spring pre-registration session for the fall semester. And so you'll want to know whether or not you're going to be filling half, if not more, of your fall semester with MPP classes relative to undergraduate classes. In terms of academic preparation, we do require that you've had principles of economics as well as introductory statistics class and 2 American government classes above what in the William & Mary curriculum is Government 351. And there are other ways to evidence that, maybe taking a class during the summer or other background preparation, but we can talk about that at a later point. This is a slide that someone had put together a couple of years ago about the MPP curriculum in terms of the skill sets and the practical experiences, and the bottom line here for, I guess, economists or analytical thinkers are the 100% marketable being job prospects, which is, I think, a key feature of having some of the alums here. The policy and practice component that you see is in 3 semesters is built of different activities and requirements between your internship, the Washington program, policy dialogues, policy research seminar. Given the land of COVID, all these lovely pictures of people traveling places, Richmond, Washington, in the Capitol, in the Senate office buildings. There'll be potentially where we're at next fall, either people coming here or us virtually going to other places, but the activity sets over those 2 years will definitely move to a different stage and be able to travel again and interact in DC, in Richmond, and having people come to campus. This is an introduction to graduate student life. I mean, as sophomores and juniors, you're all well acquainted with undergraduate student life, but there is a Graduate Policy Association. There is a student-run journal, the Policy Review. There's an alumni mentoring program. There's a research conference here on campus, as well as APAM, which is the Association for Public Policy Analysis and Management, our trade associations conference, speakers, symposiums, lots of extracurricular activities. And with regard to having more information, both our accelerated page and our overall website page are here. And so as I have a slide that says more questions, I'm going to go back to our primary slide and turn this over to our two alums who are here with us. First, Devin Braun, who graduated with a BA MPP, which is the focus of this session, and is currently serving as the president of the Public Policy Alumni Association. Devin.
Great. Thanks, Elaine. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. I first want to highlight, you talked about the influence William & Mary has in DC. Here's evidence of it. Okay, this is my William & Mary Washington Nationals themed baseball cap. William & Mary has its own day at the Nationals Park most seasons. So I was able to get this with my ticket there. So a little bit of school pride, good plug there. I'm also struck by the ways in which the world has changed. It's great to have you all here on a Zoom meeting. I think when I was sitting in on a session like this as a prospective student, which was not that long ago, I'm pretty sure my flip phone was running out of battery. So the fact that I'm still here on my Zoom app is something else. But as Elaine mentioned, I am the president of the Alumni Association. I think that the fact that we have one that is unique to this program is really a testament to the strong feelings that the alumni have about the experiences that they had during the program, where it's taken them, and the bonds that are formed, professionally and otherwise through that program. We have a board of alumni, of which Kurt is a proud member. We meet monthly. We've put together a couple of newsletters to try to connect alumni and their goings on with students as they continue their research or as they start to look for professional opportunities, as Elaine mentioned. So, it's I think a positive symptom of a really active and vibrant community. We have people working at federal, state, and local levels within government all across the country, from DC to Idaho. We've got people working internationally, consultants, a lot of people in sort of what you might call the big four consulting firms up around the DC area, but also in other industries as well. So it's a wide-ranging alumni base, and I'm really thrilled that Elaine is steering the ship for this program as we speak. She's COVID has presented a lot of challenges and adversity to a lot of different facets of the college, I'm sure, but Elaine has had experience overcoming challenges. She actually had to teach me applied calculus, so she's used to overcoming adversity. So at any rate, I can say just a couple words about kind of what I do. I'm a senior analyst at the Government Accountability Office, GAO. Some of you may have stumbled across us in your research papers if you're in the government department. Some of you may have read about us. We tend to be a little bit under the pop culture radar in DC, but it's an important agency from the standpoint of, if you picture that triangle diagram of the separation of powers within the federal government, we sort of represent the line that goes from the legislative branch to the executive branch, meaning we conduct oversight over the executive branch. We assist Congress in overseeing federal programs, how federal resources are being used and spent, whether programs can be made more efficient or more effective along the way. And I specifically work, kind of wrapping up work now on the 2020 census, doing oversight of that. If you've been following the news, that's been kind of a wild and crazy year in census land. But it's been a real thrill to kind of be in the front row, auditing it in a sense, but also trying to make it a more effective program against a series of obstacles, not just COVID. So that's been really rewarding work, and there's no doubt that my time at the MPP program really prepared me for a range of experiences there, namely small group projects. The necessity of having to translate policy terminology into something that will activate public consciousness and awareness. That's a real, sometimes underrated skill. Of course, the program will prepare you to be deeply analytical and in the weeds, but it'll also give you the skill set to be able to do that translation and do it under sometimes tight deadlines. Not unlike what a law school would do too. Highlights of the program for me, Elaine touched on a couple of them. The Washington program, which in whatever form it's reconstituted as we go forward, involved a couple things. One, going to the Supreme Court, seeing a case be argued. I suppose you could do that remotely. I think they're doing those mostly remotely now anyway. And actually, earlier in that semester, I got to do a mock argument of one of the Supreme Court cases that we then got to see in person at the court. So that was kind of cool, so that I could see all the ways in which I was deficient in my legal argumentation. But in any event, getting a quantitative grounding. I'm not someone who was necessarily prone to, being in love with quant, but getting that skill set kind of showered down upon me in that first year was really important. Again, not necessarily because I'm somehow now the person creating the data sets, because I'm not, but I am the person who has to make sense of them for my teams at work. And so William & Mary definitely prepared me for that. I think one thing to consider, I'm going to shut up here in a second so we can save time for Kurt and questions. But one thought to consider is, if you are in the position then of setting aside time for coursework to satisfy your undergrad and grad requirements, try to allow for whatever margin you can within reason, but allow for some margin for professional development, forming bonds with your grad school classmates, and kind of making sure that you're part of that community. I think it can be tempting to say, well, in this semester I once took 17 or 18 or 19 credits, and so if I take 17 or 18 or 19 or whatever it is, next fall, I know I can do it because I've done it before. My only point is that make sure you're allowing for some margin to kind of connect the dots of the other experiences of the program beyond just the coursework. I hope I'm not speaking out of school with that, but I will pause. I think maybe, Elaine, you wanted them to hold questions until Kurt had spoken. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Okay. Kurt, I hand it off to you.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. A few thoughts I have in addition to what Evan laid out, and I agree with everything he said on that. A couple other things that occurred to me. Well, first of all, I'll mention that I was probably 3 or 4 months into my first year of the public policy program before I fully realized that some of my classmates were actually undergraduates, which is another way of saying that the people that came in that program were so sharp. I thought they were just regular master's degree students and didn't even realize that they were still undergraduates. So it's a pretty powerful program, and it brings in really sharp people. So if you made that choice, I think you'd be glad to know that you'd be sitting in a classroom with some pretty, not just experienced people, but really sharp ones as well. So maybe that only indicates that I'm really slow, that I didn't realize that some of my classmates were undergraduates. But I think it's really something that you should seriously consider. Here's a second reason that I would recommend that someone consider this incredible package deal, which is how I think of it, this ability to stay one more year at William & Mary and walk out with a master's degree. It's quite possible that many of the bachelor's students at William & Mary already have in mind to go get their master's degree right away. I understand that. But if you're someone who says, I think I'm going to go out and work for a while first and then come back later, go somewhere later to get a master's degree, the experience that I know that I've come across with a lot of people in life is that someday to get that master's degree turns into a longer time and then a longer time, and life gets in the way, and then families and so on. And that goal to get the master's degree just seems to keep creeping away. So if you're in a position to get the master's degree right away And particularly if you're in a position to get a master's degree by adding just one more year, it's almost too good a deal to pass up. So I think it's worth some pretty serious consideration. A couple of the parts of the program that I found particularly interesting and very rewarding, the policy research seminar in the fall semester of the second year. I had two outstanding teammates. We did an important project. I think we made a difference in the organization that we helped advise. And so this was not just an academic exercise. It was not a make work exercise. It was real stuff, putting into practice what we've been learning in the classroom. And a lot of programs don't have something like that. And this Master's of Public Policy at William & Mary does have that. And it's something to put into your thinking as well. I spent a lot of time in the last several years talking to the veterans, military veterans who come to William & Mary about the advantages of doing the public policy program. And so if anyone out there is one of the veterans, then you probably already heard me say this, that again, it's a program that allows you to get that master's and doesn't let life get in the way. So on the slide, it says that I have an MBA and a MPP. So that's something else to ponder. I don't know exactly how it fits, and Elaine will correct me if I say the wrong thing here. But among the other things you can consider at William & Mary is doubling up on master's degrees. And there were 2 or 3 people in my program that were doing some version of this. It might have been a law school degree and the public policy. I know there was one other student in my cohort that was also an MBA, MPP. And there's 4 or 5 other combinations. I think the School of Education has some combinations as well. So this just adds on to my argument, I think, that if you're inclined to do graduate work at some point in your life and you want to be very efficient about it, this is the program that does that. And then a final comment about the internships. I loved the internships I went on. I went down to Miami for 10 weeks. I worked at a military headquarters. And for any of the students who are thinking about government careers, then certainly places like GAO, Congressional Research Service, tremendous opportunities for the students who think they might want to get into work where you need security clearances. This is also a great opportunity because that summer internship can be the time where you get the security clearance. And for those who have been associated with government in any way, you know that you can't buy a security clearance. You have to have a job somewhere, sometime that allows you to get one. And a summer internship from public policy can be that opportunity, depending on what you want to do down the road. So I think I'll leave it at that, if I could, and be ready for questions.
Great. Given Kurt's comments, Devin, do you have any final comments before I open this up?
Happy to open it up, but also if, I want to be aware that I was kind of scrambling coming out from work. So if there were 1 or 2 things that you kind of expected one or both of us to cover that we haven't yet, I'm happy to do that while more people tee up questions. Okay.
No, I think I'm good. I in case people while you were talking wanted to put in a question, I opened up the chat, but I don't see anything in chat. So are there any questions? Something, just unmute. Okay, Cody, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I guess I might have missed this part. I know there was a portion in the summer before you do that first year that there's a research thing, but they mentioned research while they were in the program, not beforehand. Is there a requirement for research, or is there like opportunity for that?
Well, the main piece that I can reflect hearing is something called the Policy Research Seminar, which is a course in the fall of the second year where students are put into 3-person teams where they basically work as a consultancy group to an outside client. And so that is the Policy Research Seminar. This is and I'll let either Kurt or Devin speak to this if you wish, but that this seems to be for many of our alums or our second year students who are in the job market, that takeaway piece that they can really utilize in the job market with regard to their interviewing for a position, with regard to working as a team, working with a client, setting expectations, getting the deliverables delivered, even if you have difficulties with your client and other things like that. So that is the only course internal to the program that I can think of that has the word research associated with it. There is the opportunity to do independent work, which could be independent research with a faculty member, just as there is across William & Mary in general. Kurt, Devin, anything about PRS beyond what you were said already, Kurt?
No, you captured it well. That fall semester course, I had two fantastic teammates. We had a client. In our case, it was close to the campus, and not every day was fun with the client, but it was real. It was real life, and we worked hard to meet the client's expectations, and some days it seemed to go well, and other days it didn't, and that was like life. And in the end, we gave them what we thought was a pretty darn good product, and we've been happy to see that over the years, some of our recommendations came about. And I don't know that there's that many programs I've come across that allow that kind of opportunity to say, okay, this is the way it really is.
Yeah, and I'll just, I guess, further emphasize a couple of things. The PRS itself does a couple of things. It gives you project management experience, which in DC, but throughout is, that's such a prized competency. In fact, a lot of agencies and firms will actually pay people to go offline to get a project management certificate to then come back to work. So having that experience is huge. I think it being client driven, as Kurt was mentioning, is really key because, throughout a lot of academia, including probably most of your undergraduate coursework, you're sort of well practiced at the art of writing for yourself and writing for your ideas and interests and curiosities. And there's an incredible value in that. And you'll have opportunities to do that in this program too. But I think there's also value in learning to write on behalf of an organization or for an organization, or writing in observance of a client's interests, or at least being cognizant of them. I think writing with the idea that there's someone kind of outside of you who's either going to be ingesting this product, using it, or outright reviewing it. It's sort of a different way to approach academic work, but as Kurt mentioned, it kind of, I would argue, more closely resembles the real world. There was one other point I was going to make, but I think I see another question in the chat, so I'll pause there.
Sure. The next question is with regard to financial aid and scholarships. There is financial aid, but it would be during the second year, because during the first year, you're still an undergraduate student, and so you'd be paying undergraduate tuition, and any kinds of undergraduate scholarships that you have would still be in force and in play during this time. During what would be your second year of the BA-MPP, there's opportunities to have a teaching assistantship or a research assistantship, and there's also monies that are there to support the summer internship in between the first and second year, so that you have an unpaid internship, that you would be able to consider taking that because there's support to do that.
Elaine, is that still called is that still attached to the Trice name, or is that, I'm just thinking of, because I was a beneficiary of that in my MPP year, my second year, and I was actually, that was what I was going to mention was, the question about research opportunities. I was able to do 2 research assistantships kind of as part of that phase of the program, and one in the fall and one in the spring semester. So that thought just came to mind. I don't know what it's being called now, but that was my experience as well.
Yeah, so there's there's different opportunities. There are different names or pots of money that support the different opportunities. I think that as the first, I guess, line of need and the part of the program is as teaching assistants, where second year Master of Public Policy students are teaching assistants for first year Master of Public Policy students, and or with faculty in econ and government. And then in addition, there are some other opportunities for research assistantships as well. But as a BA MPP, this coming year, you are operatively an undergraduate student still. You can live in a dormitory. If you have a scholarship, you are under that scholarship. If you are an athlete, you'd still be having that as an opportunity. If you're an athlete with an extra year of eligibility, you could use that in what would be your 5th year. We've had that experience as well. So we can come back to financial aid, but Alton has his hand raised. Do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, so from my understanding, you would apply your junior year and to get into the program. And then would it be that junior year summer where you're supposed to do the undergraduate summer research, coursework, or internship? And if so, say you were currently double majoring and you use something that was related to public policy, but not necessarily in that specific department, could you sort of utilize that sort of research initiative? Say you like wanted to do like a senior thesis or something of that nature. Could you utilize that as sort of your undergraduate summer research?
Yes, and so the language of what you do in the summer between your junior and senior year is either research, coursework, which if you're getting credit for the research, that is, I guess, coursework, but it's a little bit different than I need to make up a stats class or I need to make up some language proficiency or something like that. So research, coursework, or an internship. And I think the bigger way for me to think about that is that we want you to do something productive in your ability to do the MPP program and the ability to develop your skill set. So whether that being productive is having an internship at a policy place, which would be great, that would be fine. If being productive means that I have 90 credits, but my senior year schedule would be a heck of a lot easier if I took some summer school classes that are just classes I need towards my 120, then that would be a productive use of your time. And if you wanted to do some research, because that's something that you haven't had the opportunity to do so far, independent undergraduate research, and you had the opportunity to do that in the summer, that could be the first part of an honors thesis that you then carry into that final year. Almost every year of the BA MPPs, as Kurt was saying, the BA MPPs are typically, top-notch undergraduate students. And so every year I've had somebody who is doing the BA MPP and some of their undergraduate coursework that they're doing are the honors thesis credits fall and spring.
Yeah.
So there's lots. Yeah, sorry, Devin, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say my example of that was I was a government major and I did it was a great kind of convergence of interest because I was able to kickstart my honors thesis on trust in government, sort of a political theory topic, but that has pretty clear policy implications. I was able to do that the summer after junior year and then continue it on through the fall.
Other questions?
Hey, Elaine, I'll make a comment while we're waiting for other questions. One thing that I forgot to mention was that the cohort of students that I went through with, I think there were about 23 of us in my group. And I, like Devin, I had been a government major as an undergraduate. But what was really neat, I thought, about the public policy program was the mix of degrees that came into the program and kind of fed it. So in my 20 some classmates or so, there was a pretty wide variety of backgrounds, either academic undergraduate backgrounds. In some cases, people already had other graduate degrees from somewhere else. And beyond that was the number of students that came in with previous work experience. And so thinking back to a point where I got a master's degree in government, everyone sitting around me also had the same background I did. Essentially, they had all gotten their bachelor's degrees in government. So there really wasn't, in that other program I was in, much variety among the students. But in the public policy program, there's incredible variety. And so, as had been mentioned earlier, the ability to learn from your classmates, I think, is very, very rich in the public policy program because of the diversity of skills and academic courses that the students sitting around you have had.
Thank you. And that allowed a question to come in the chat, which is, do you need to take the GRE? And under the current rules, the GRE is not being required. The MPP program has traditionally required the GRE, but William & Mary as a whole has lifted GRE requirements given the given the conditions that we're currently in with COVID and the ability to take the test and all those other kinds of things. So that is currently not a requirement. Other questions? Well, just again, just some final items here. We have the slide deck, and I will, not tonight, as we end this off and have the recording put together and all that, but I will make sure that the slide deck is shared so that you can actually see the details of the curriculum. We are in a year of revising the curriculum, and so there are some new classes there and some new names for classes. A simulation in the spring of the first year to give students an opportunity to work as a group and do an applied project in a much more directed fashion than the PRS project in the fall, as well as a couple of renaming of classes. Public management has become leading change, and things like that. So there's some details there. As I said at the beginning, that we will be hosting weekly sessions, mainly geared to different subsets of the interest areas, the BA MPP tonight, seniors and joint degree students who are looking for the 2-year MPP experience next week, and then sort of the grad bag in the 3rd week. But if you have questions and would like to have them answered in live time, you're certainly welcome to participate in any of these other forums and send us questions. I think it's going to be difficult given the start of school as well as these different forums for me to take individual advising appointments until we have all of these sessions taken care of in the next 2 weeks. But you can participate those and get some other questions, and just keep in touch with us as we move forward. And so, having done that little brief commercial, just trying to see if there's another opportunity for anyone to have another question. Either raise your hand or put it in chat, or otherwise, I'm really grateful. We've had a call with 21 people on it, so thank you for participating. And I guess one of the things to really take away, since this was advertised effectively across the Tyler Hall departments, but the MPP, and this really goes, I guess, back to Kurt's comments, is something that's open to all majors, all undergraduate majors apply to a public policy program. This is, for many people, a twist or a left or right turn from what they did as an undergraduate. So if you have friends that you know are interested in policy aspects, we have a fair number of students who are from the sciences who are interested in policy, obviously things like environmental science, but a new dialogue I had last week were some people in the physics department that are developing a subfield in basically fusion policy. So I was like, okay, wow, that's cool. A new one for me. But just, if you are in a dialogue and someone says something that makes you think, oh, this would actually be good, it is open for anybody across the undergraduate majors. Any final comments, Kurt or Devin?
Nope.
Nope, it's great to see so many interested folks here. Hope everyone has a good semester.
Yeah. And freshmen are moving back on campus. I am here in Tyler Hall, so it's exciting that William & Mary is opening up again. And we'll see more of you all on campus in the next week or 10 days as the upperclassmen start coming back to campus. So thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Take care.
Hi, I just had a really quick question.
Sure.
So I asked about financial aid and I was just wondering, so if I was to do it my senior year, what would the additional cost be to do the master's if I'm paying for undergrad?